This is such a big thing, right?
Thank you.
Oh, come on, Jim. Good morning, Colin.
Morning.
Thank you very much for coming on the show. Fantastic. Thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you for-
I wanted to be kind of businesslike.
Can I see the other girl?
Hello and welcome to Qatar's first sports podcast, In the Game. I'm your host, Steve Mackey, and we can't wait to introduce you to everything that is sports here in Qatar and afar. We're going to be bringing you personalities, company owners, institutions, individuals that are making a real difference. So, with us, enjoy the journey.
It's fun, man. Sports is fun.
Everyone, thank you for listening. Please send us your feedback on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. And don't forget to review us on your favorite podcast app. From North America, Keith, can you introduce yourself? I'm going to save it for our listeners right now, what you do, but can you introduce yourself? You tell us a bit about your story to where you are today.
As far as, let's talk about futsal. I was playing professional indoor soccer, and I got a call from one of my coaches and said, "Hey, would you like to try out for the national five-a-side team?" And I'm like, "Five-a-side team? What is that?" And he goes, "Well, there's going to be a tournament, the first FIFA tournament in Budapest, Hungary." This was 1986. And I said, "That'd be great." I said, can I bring four of my other teammates with me and just put us all in one line? So we had a goalkeeper and me and three other guys. We went to New York City. He put us all together. We all made it. A couple of weeks later, I'm in Budapest, which the Cold War was still going on. Brazil, Italy, Netherlands, United States, and it was wonderful. So they didn't call it futsal at the time; it was five-a-side. And Steve, I caught the bug. I was like, God, I love this because you're always defending or you're always scoring. And you know, in normal football, there's some times there's creativity and moving the ball, but in futsal, you're either making a save or you're scoring a goal, which is fantastic. So I fell in love with it.
Oh, and to be quite honest, I was in one of those eras that I didn't know what futsal was. I never had a clue because I always known it as five-a-side.
Yeah, you know, in the United States, we got football, soccer, we got professional indoor soccer, which I coached for many years, and I was a player and then a player coach, and then obviously we have futsal. So that same coach, which the national team, in 1996 was the first CONCACAF championship that he actually had to qualify for a World Cup. Before it was more by invitation. But at that time, he was coaching Miami of Major League Soccer. And he said to me, remember, this is 10 years later, he said to me, "Hey, by the way, could you be the interim coach and take the team to Guatemala because I can't?" And I said, "Oh, really? Wow, this is awesome." So we went down there and we won. So the first CONCACAF championships, we won a gold medal. Now, I didn't take the team to Spain. He did, okay, along with another legendary coach. And then after that tournament, U.S. Soccer called me up and said, "Hey, by the way, would you like to be the head coach?" And I'm like, "No, I don't want to." That's how do you say gaffer? Is that what?
Yeah,
English term?
gaffer.
Okay, I say, he's my gaffer. I'm not taking him. They go, no, it's okay. So I called him up and said, and then next thing you know, I coached the team for 20 years, and it was quite a great honor.
Oh, that's such a great story. But you've got so many accolades that you've got under your belt you've given your life for sports for others. It's like
I'm going to say one thing, and I mean this wholeheartedly, is that I did not win one game. It's the people, the players, the staff, the trainers. In order to win something in a team-orientated game, you need everybody together. So all this stuff, there are so many men and women that are kind of woven in through this. And I just tweeted something today because our ex-press secretary tweeted out a picture of that 86 team in Budapest. And I retweeted it and said it was such an honor for me. But I love to teach. I think if I was a school teacher, I'd rather take an F and D student and make them a B student than take an A student and maintain them. I love to teach. So did not win one game.
And now, and for our listeners, because I am a complete amateur at this, especially when you've got your own podcast that's all about futsal, and you've got something like 250,000 listeners on a regular basis.
225,000 listeners in 130 countries.
No way. What
Yeah,
is
great.
that like? How did you, just for a little lesson for myself, how did you achieve that?
I think podcast success is based upon the person that you have on, how many followers they have, what name do they have in the sport. But then they could have a great name, but don't like to share, or the interview is not great, so it goes into the can, I say. So if you can get a guest, like I had Landon Donovan on. Do you know Landon?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
Landon,
The
he
football.
led the football.
Yeah.
The captain. He was fabulous. I mean, not only did he have a great name, but he was a great interview. Ollie Long, who was on the women's national team and won in France, she was on. She found futsal. Anson Dorrance, who won 22 national championships in North Carolina. Or we even had Javier Lozano, who won 2 World Cups and 3 or 4 UEFA championships for Spain's futsal national team as president of LNFS right now. So the quality, the share, and then doing your marketing. You're going to do great. I love the logo. I love your show.
Thank you so much indeed. And how, like futsal, okay? And it was only till recently, and I know this sounds, it was only till recently that I didn't just realize how big futsal was and how important it is to the game. Can you share some of that knowledge with us, and what's your opinion with it all?
There's 210 member associations under FIFA that are now playing futsal. And I think we have 228. So almost every MA is touching futsal. And futsal basically was born in the streets of Uruguay, of Brazil, of Spain. You don't have outdoor pitches in metropolitan areas. So what you do is you play pickup games. And obviously, if you're playing in the street or you're playing small-sided games, the physicality changes, your mind thought process changes, your technical ability changes. So all the top players who play outdoor football have played some form of futsal, especially if you came from the countries I mentioned. So I think it's a wonderful game to develop, but I also think it's an awesome game on its own. Great for television. I mean, in the Pan American Games, it was always sold out. The World Cups are always sold out. Europe has a European Championship, a Champions League, a U19 Champions League. So futsal is booming around the world, and it's very exciting to be part of.
And you said it's booming around the world. Has it got to a pinnacle right now, or is there so much more to grow?
So much more to grow. And you know what? It's a great business model too, and I'll tell you why. Every person who has played soccer for 1 minute can start a soccer camp, can start a club, can do anything. So we got tons of football, soccer people around the world. Futsal is like the gold rush in the United States 150 years ago, is that we need more coaches, we need more managers, we need more owners, we need more players. So futsal is a great opportunity for someone who just wants to do it alone, or someone who wants to do it as part of a club to produce a special player.
And what about the countries that haven't embraced it yet? Is it something that they need to do and implement into their game?
You ever heard of a fish story? You know, a fish story changes over the years, where the fish was only 8 inches, but 2 years later it was 15 inches, and 3 years later it's a shark. So this story has changed a little bit, but here's the foundation. The Solomon Islands in 2007 said, as a member association and FA, their federation said, are we really going to do something at the World Cup of football? Or can we do something in futsal? Can we create a different player? And can we get young people off the street, most importantly, and help young people? So the Solomon Islands got 20 some odd of their best players together. They trained a little bit. They actually qualified for the World Championship in 2008 in Brazil. They got killed by Brazil, 21-0, didn't score any goals. That's okay. 2012, 2016, and you know, just now, 2020, they qualified, and not only qualified, they're Oceania's champion. And several of their players have gone outside and played in football in Europe, and they have created a huge program. But was born from that, Steve, is other FAs said, hey, Tahiti, Bora Bora, Trinidad Tobago, and CONCACAF, they've all said, hey, what about this futsal? Should we add it to our package? So this thing is just continue to grow and grow and grow.
How in this game itself, how important is it to young kids? I've seen it myself with street soccer, and I've seen kids get into that arena, and because it's not so big and it's not such a big, massive pitch, they seem to be able to express themselves and have more fun because they think they can achieve something from the very beginning instead of it being too big. What's your findings with the children?
The children absolutely love the game. And a lot of times in my country, I have players that come off the court and say, hey, coach, by the way, I like this more than outdoor. I mean, I'm a defender. I've never shot on goal in the past 2 years playing outdoor. I just had 15 shots and scored 2 goals. I'd love this more than football. And I go, shh, it's okay. Okay, you can love both. The children, it's born for them, especially the new generation, right? We want everything quick and big. And so the court creates technical ability, because obviously you're touching the ball a lot more in a game or in a training session than you're in outdoor football. And when you have technical ability, your confidence grows, which is what we want our children to do. And we want them to express themselves. You know, a lot of camps, clinics, they put names to different moves. You know, players in Brazil don't put names to moves. Michael Jordan doesn't put a name to a move. He just did it. And that's what futsal does. It creates imagination. And then it creates a different player physically, speed, quickness, the thought process. If you don't think about what you're going to do before you get the ball, you're going to stick out like a sore thumb on a futsal court. So it makes you think quicker, which builds confidence. So you put all those together, it's a great game.
And then you put the aspect of the team in there. And it, just like you said, I've never won a game on my own. It's always been with the team. And that is a magical, that I love playing as a team. Whatever I've done in my life, it's always got to be with somebody else. I would hate to try and do it on my own.
Yeah, you know, I think it would be great to win Wimbledon or just recently the Masters, you know, a sport on your own. I mean, I'm sure to win anything at that level is wonderful. But I'm telling you, there's nothing better than to go in a locker room or run around a court or a field and you just won and you're all together. You know, especially during a time of a pandemic, we're missing that, aren't we? We're missing being together with other people. So I love team sports. I love watching the individual ones, but I love team sports.
Your day-to-day job, and I know that you do so many different things. Can you share with us the type of things that how you're trying to go out there and promote? Obviously, you've got the podcast, but you do so much more from trying to teach people and coaches. You said that we've got to bring so many more coaches on. You're actually going out there and you're finding them and teaching them, right?
And I love that. I mean, as technical director of United States Youth Futsal, we have coaching education. We did release out 4 or 5 months ago the level 1 online certification course. So if anybody around the world wants to take it, actually the Irish FA, some coaches have taken it. The Libya women's national team coach, Maroon, he took it. You go to usyouthfutsal.com, hit coaching courses, you can get it. I'm just getting done with level 2. And it was an interesting journey because I took 4 tennis courts here in my city and they were underutilized. Actually, they're not used at all anymore. And went to the city and I said, I want to create futsal courts. And they said, wow, what's futsal? So I put a PowerPoint presentation together, had a press conference, had 100 people there. When everybody left, you know, and they said, well, coach, how are you going to do it? And I go, oh, easy. You're going to power wash it, clean it off, fix some cracks, you know, paint it and put up goals and you got it. Well, when everybody left, I brought my mom and pap power washer out and I did 10 square feet in 3 hours. And I look back and I got 29,990 more feet to do. And I'm like, this is a daunting task. Doing the coaching education was the same thing. I thought, oh yeah, we'll put some stuff together. It was hundreds and hundreds of hours. But I love it because like you said, now we can go out and teach. So we have 5 levels. Level 1's online, level 2's online, a state course, which is hopefully going to come up after the pandemic, 6 to 8 hours, a national course, which is a weekend, and an international course, which is for a week. So that's one of the things I've been doing.
And just for people out there, because it's all about making a difference, what would your advice, if somebody was in a country or in their area, what would your advice be to them to go out and set this futsal up?
That's the beauty of the game. You know, a lot of countries have gymnasiums. I kind of joke around respectfully is that we probably, the United States has more futsal courts than most countries because every elementary, junior high, high school, university, college, church, they have gyms, which is a futsal court. But you have outdoor basketball courts, tennis courts, parking lots, shopping malls. I mean, get a coach, get some kids, get a futsal ball, and just find an area, a small area, and get the kids to play. And by the way, what's really great about the sport is you can just sit back and watch. You don't need referees. I don't want to say this. You don't need coaches all the time, okay? Just let the kids play. It's kind of like in Canada, they have pickup hockey. In New York City, they have pickup basketball. In Texas, they have pickup baseball. Now we have pickup futsal around the world. So get a ball, futsal ball, whatever area you can find, go out and play, enjoy.
And you've been a master at this. What have you seen? How have these kind of helped communities?
I love your questions. That's a great question. There's an ex-goalkeeper of mine named Otto Orff. He's actually the assistant coach and goalkeeper coach for the national team now. And years ago, I'd say about 8 years ago, he invited me to a city called Akron, Ohio, into the inner city, and I mean the inner city. And he found a slab of concrete that was an old hockey rink, and he made a futsal court, and he had a grand opening. And I went to the grand opening, and kids that were coming from the tenements and in the inner city who never saw a futsal ball, never saw a soccer ball, they were coming out on the court, and 3 hours later, we're sitting there, we're going, oh my gosh, you got to keep an eye on her. You got to keep an eye on him. You got to keep an eye on her. You got to keep an eye on him. And they just pick it up by playing. And that's the beauty of it. It's kids who've never played it before have another different pathway now to help themselves later on in life. It's a great story. And that's what's happening around the world.
And the pleasure, and I know that the pleasure of seeing somebody that has just turned up to a futsal for the first time in their lives, and then all of a sudden they go on and they become somebody that we all look up to, and then we look up to them and we admire what they've achieved. You must have so many of those.
There has been a lot of players in the futsal program and indoor soccer that have gone on and have done great things and are going to still continue to do great things. I love the story of Ollie Long. Ollie played in North Carolina where Mia Hamm played and Kristen Lilly and all our top women played. Anson, like I said, won multiple national championships. She was an All-American, won a national championship, somehow couldn't get to the national team. Her boyfriend, and they lived in New York City, her boyfriend would play 5 or 6 futsal games, tournaments for big money. And he was in a tournament. And in the semifinal, a player got hurt and a player got red carded. So they needed a player. So the coach turned to Ollie and said, hey, by the way, did you got your equipment? All footballers have their equipment with you, right? So she said, yeah, I'll do it. So she played the game, they won the championship. She then started playing 5 to 6 men futsal games every week in New York City. Even at her age, 23, 24, it changed their game. And you know what? A couple years later, she's on a national team, and a couple years later, she hoists the world championship in France. That's what futsal did for her later in her developmental years.
Oh, and I'm laughing now because I you've just said something to me that I can remember, and it's like you always, what are you taking a bag with you for? No reason. I've got to go somewhere afterwards, because no matter where you went, whatever sport I was going to watch, or if they were ever needing a player, I had my stuff. I had my stuff with me. I had my stuff with me. Oh, it's fantastic. Now, the one thing I like about this, again, we've got the street soccer in Qatar, and it is similar, but it's not the same. But it's where everything that you said, I love it because it was the first step for me, because I was quite badly overweight, and I won't say I love football, but I do enjoy playing it. I enjoy the camaraderie, the kind of going for it. Do you know what I mean? The competition. And I did like it, and I do love what we do with the street soccer. But it's high cardiovascular. It's if you're the one player on that team and you think you're going to win the game just because you're so great, it's like it doesn't work like that, because they're just going to swarm you out, right? And it's just going to be that you're not going to be able to win that game just on your own. You've got to have everybody involved. Otherwise, the other team are just going to swarm you out, and you're not going to be able to pass, and you'll lose eventually. So it doesn't matter how good you are, you're not going to win that game all on your own.
No, you're not. And I think you'll every great player will tell you that in team sports, no matter how great you are, you need other people around you. And it's not, you don't have to be the best player. You might be the most committed player. I had a Scottish player play for me, Canadian kid, Scottish, played in the midfield. He wasn't the fastest physical, but he mentally was so fast and technically so good that he made a huge impact. And his coaches at youth level said, you'll never make it big because of your speed. So, sports, you need all different kinds of players, and you need commitment and hard work and passion and desire. And when you have all those, you can make up for some things you might not have. And that's the beauty of the sport.
But there is no age limit with this, right? You can play this game at any age.
Yeah, you can. I've seen 3 and 4-year-olds obviously play it. Down in Brazil, they play 7v7. They call it show ball. And show ball is outdoor soccer, but played on a small pitch because older people don't want to run. Okay. And some fields have fences around them. So when the ball goes out of bounds, they don't want to run 30 yards to go pick up the ball to throw it back in. So they put a little fence around it. So guys like our age, man, we can go out, play 7v7, shoot on goal, do whatever, and then, go to the restaurant or the bar. And the same thing is in futsal. Men and women of all ages are playing this game. I mean, in Japan, you got futsal courts on top of buildings. Okay. In Asia, Vietnam is building 1,000 futsal courts in Vietnam, Thailand, Japan, Cambodia. This thing is like booming everywhere.
And do you think it's going to, because you've got cricket, right? And I don't know how much you know of cricket, but we had the test where it was lasting for 5 days. And then all of a sudden they brought in the 2020, right? Where it was a limited overs, but it was really limited. And it was all the razzmatazz. They made it more of an entertainment sport. And you had to go out there and you had to slog and you had to get it to the boundaries. It was more entertaining. Do you think that this could potentially take over from the normal football?
No.
From a spectator sport?
No. In my country, football, basketball, hockey, and baseball have been around for 100 years. It's in the fabric of an American, those sports. Soccer, Major League Soccer has done a fabulous job in the last 20 years to get where they are. I don't think they'll ever take over one of those four. Football around the world is huge. It's passion. It's your county against my county. It's your grandfather against my grandfather. There is too much legend to the game. But I do think that futsal and street soccer will have a place somewhere because, hey, it's great for television. I mean, for 2 hours, you can put futsal game on. The Professional League in Spain has done fabulous things. Russia, Italy, Portugal, even Iran. So I don't think it'll overtake football, but I think it will have a place alongside football.
And going on to your experience and what you've done over the years, could you just pick out 5 great memories that you've had with your experience over the years in sport, especially football and futsal?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. I'll tell you one I don't have. I don't have any memories or great times in Qatar because I've never been there. I really want to come to Qatar. It's a wonderful country, wonderful people. So I need to create a memory from there. But I think like children, I think winning that first CONCACAF championship in 1996 was just an unbelievable feeling. To win it again in Costa Rica against a good friend of mine in the semifinal, Carlos Queiroz, and then beat Cuba in the final. But to beat Costa Rica in Costa Rica, I remember in the newspaper the next day, it said in Spanish, that the Estados Unidos knew Costa Rica better than Costa Rica knew themselves. And Costa Rica is a fabulous futsal country, and obviously soccer, but that was a great moment. Playing in the Pan American Games. I was in the pool for the 1980 Olympic team, outdoor soccer, football. And because Russian invaded Afghanistan, the United States didn't go. So we created the National Sports Festival. I always wanted to get to the Olympics. I was like, okay, well, I'll never be an Olympian. But then all of a sudden futsal was at Rio de Janeiro 2007 Pan American Games. So there I was in an Olympic Village, going into the stadium for the opening and closing ceremony. I just got chills, by the way, thinking about it. We walked up into the ramp in Maracanã, where Pele walked up for the Brazil national team, or Santos, and I'm walking up that same ramp with the Olympic song going on. So those are just some of the, and all the men and women I've met around the world. I mean, you meet so many great soccer, football, futsal people when you travel. I mean, it's amazing. So there it is.
Women's football. You just said men and women. Women's football. How far has it progressed? It's wonderful to see. I think it was it last year the women's World Cup final was that was wonderful. We nearly got there, but the Americans beat us in the semi-final. Oh my word, we were so close. But how's women's football developing?
This is the great story. Is that Title IX? You ever heard of Title IX?
No.
Title IX started 20 years ago in the United States. Title IX was passed to make sure that women's sports got the same funding and the same respect as men. And that really helped the women's sports in our country. And it gave money, and it gave scholarships, and it gave opportunity, and it gave belief and passion. And that's one of the reasons why our women became the world champion around the world. But, all of a sudden Sweden came, and they have a great national team, and Japan and Brazil and Qatar and Australia and New Zealand. I mean, the women's game around the world, it has done so many remarkable things. And I know those women, because women from people in sports, both men and women, go on to do great things in politics and in business and in other walks of life. And I'm really, really happy to see that the great game of women's soccer around the world is doing as well as it is.
One thing I'm going to say to you now, because I didn't pick up on it when you said, but I promise you, as long as I'm in Qatar right now, you will have a place to stay. And I will take you. It's something else that we do with students is that we bring students over to Qatar, and we take them around the stadiums, and we introduce them to Aspire Academy. We take them into the Supreme and Legacy Committee. We have a fabulous time. So I'll make sure that you get special treatment here without a shadow of a doubt.
Well, you got so many great people there already in futsal. I would love to come for a week, and this is what I would love to do. You ready for this?
Yep.
We'd love to put on a youth tournament, okay, or an ID camp. So whatever age groups, 8U to 17U, boys and girls, and at the same time do coaching education so that the coaches can actually help with those teams, and do referee education for futsal so that you do referee, coaching, and youth development all in 1 week. What a dream come true.
And let me get a commitment from yourself then. I'll be willing to put my hat into the ring. Okay. If you're with me and we can start this program, then I'll go and make sure that I can get this journey started.
I am 100% committed to come to Qatar along with the wonderful coaches and players you already have, and help out in any small way that I possibly can. Yes, perfect. You have my commitment.
That is wonderful. That is just unbelievable. Did you ever, when you were a younger man, it's like, did you ever anticipate what was coming to you when you were back then?
No, I don't know. Well, you got the guy Johnson, Dustin Johnson, who said at 5 years old he wanted to win the Masters, and the guy went out and he won the Masters. I mean, to me, wow, I cried during that thing. It was awesome. I think what happened, Steve, was that my father was an extremely hardworking man who was committed, who was loyal, who was passionate. He worked in in a factory. He was a vice president, but he was always the first guy there and the last guy to leave, and took his shirt off and got down with the people. I think those qualities were passed on to me, and I then took those on into indoor soccer and futsal. But I never thought.
Your legacy, you just saying those type of things, because I think that it's so important that we have people like you in the world, because that's one thing that I have with this magic of the podcast, In the Game podcast, is because you get to interview people like yourself that are making a huge difference, and we just go in and we do try to make a difference. We all try to make a difference, and there's lots more people out there, but we're just trying to take it one step at a time. But when I see somebody like yourself that's gone out there and made such a big difference to so many, from every walk of life, of all age groups, and you're continually growing that, what's your ambitions? What is your ambitions for the future?
Well, let me first say, I read a profound statement years ago that kind of changed my life as far as teaching youth people. It said, at the time that you pass away, it doesn't matter the size of your house, what car you drove, or how much money you have in the bank. But life is going to be based upon if you helped any children. And if you have helped one, you've made a difference. That changed me. I was like, you know what? That's right. I got to give back. And I love going around our country, around the world. Before the pandemic, we just came back from Barcelona with the youth international teams. And prior to that, we were in Argentina, which is wonderful to show kids what it means to be around the world. I hope that in years to come, I have the ability to continue to teach and to talk and to meet people. And if I can do that, I will never retire. Never retire. I will be like a Viking. I will go down and work as hard as I can and help as many people as I can. I have a passion for that. So I have a lot left in me.
I don't want to go any further, because leaving it on that statement is just enough for me. I am so privileged that you've come on and you've shared your memories with us. You've shared your feelings, you've shared your emotions, and that's very special. And to me, that's really special. Thank you so much for coming on our show. It was amazing. Thank you so much indeed.
Well, it's been an honor to be on In the Game sports podcast. I'd like to finish by, I hope and pray that everybody in Qatar, everybody who listens to the show around the world, is safe and well, that we will get on the other side of this pandemic. We will save lives, and I will hop on an airplane and I will come to meet you face to face in Qatar.
I will be at the airport with open arms, and let's hope that
Awesome.
we can, it would be great to see you. Everybody, thank you so much for listening to the show today. It's been an absolutely wonderful show for me today. It was a brilliant time that I had. So thank you so much indeed. And thanks everybody for listening. Thank you so much. Honestly.
Yeah, thank you. It's great.
You're
a natural.
Everyone, thank you for listening. Please send us your feedback on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. And don't forget to review us on your favorite podcast app.